Do you remember back in January when Kyrie Irving said it was, quote, transparent and, quote, glaring that the Nets needed different pieces to get to the next level? Well, Stephen Bondy from the New York Daily News reports Brooklyn is indeed having internal talks on finding a third star to play alongside KD and Kyrie. And the player they are eyeing? Bradley Beal. Now remember, Beal just signed a $72 million extension last summer, which means he can't even be traded until the offseason, and we don't even know when the offseason is. And Washington has said several times they don't want to trade him even once they can. So really, this comes down to Beal, guys. He has been saying for more than a year he is committed to staying in D.C. It's been against a bunch of other hypothetical options, so he just says, yeah, I want to stay. But Richard, do you think that the specific lure of playing on a super team with KD and Kyrie would be enough to spur him to ask for a trade? Because that's really the only way I even see a chance of this happening.
Look, no player really, I won't say no player, but a lot of players, after you spend a ton of time with one team, you start to dream about ending your career there. But ultimately, I think the Washington Wizards have had their run. So Bradley Beal has gotten his money, he got his extension, and so if he has an opportunity to go and play for a championship level team in the Eastern Conference in New York, and I'm not even just talking about Brooklyn, but just in general, I think that's something he should take a very, very hard look at, and I think he would probably be well served to get out of DC.
Well, yeah, I mean, but usually when those rumors come about, they're hard to kind of like pass. And you know, like you said, Richard, I do believe that his time is up in Washington. I mean, he's been an all-star. He's made a lot of money. So I think at this point in his career, he wants to win. So if he goes out and demands trade, it's not like the Washington Wizards are like selling out anyway. So, you know, to lose a superstar would be very detrimental. But, you know, for him to get to Brooklyn, that's something he has to think long and hard about, I believe, because, you know, like I said, he has the money. He's been in the All-Star game. What more does he want? I believe he wants to win a championship, and that gives him his best opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, guys, the Wizards aren't going to want to do this, right? I mean, the idea of John Wall coming back, having Bradley Beal, the way he's blossomed even more over the last season, that is certainly a building block for them. But it's really up to Bradley Beal to decide, okay, do I want to try again with John Wall? John's going to come back, and there's going to be a little bit of feeling out of who gets the ball when, right? Things have changed since John Wall last played. And he has said over and over, and Brad's had the chance to bail on the Wizards, and no one's certainly pushing him out the door. But it's one thing to sit there and say, oh, do I want to be on the trading block for the next 3 or 4 months, or should I sign this extension, and have that just be kind of in the air, versus do I want to go play with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in New York on a team that has a good chance to win the East? So I think that specific, if it does come about, is going to be interesting to see if he decides maybe now is when I can weigh 2 specific options and pick one. All right, guys, we got to talk about The Last Dance, because sadly, we're about to get into a weekend with no Last Dance. But what if I told you there was even more ground to cover from MJ's incredible career? I can't quite do the 30 for 30 voice, I tried. This meme has been floating around NBA Twitter. Oh yes, Wizards MJ with the caption, can't wait for episodes 11 and 12 next week. Guys, there's no episodes 11 and 12, which kind of brings up the point. It's amazing how MJ has hypnotized the world to just forget about his time in DC. It's not like he was there for a cup of coffee. Michael spent 3 seasons with the Wizards organization. He averaged 20 points per game at age 40. Paul, you were a Wizard. Why doesn't anyone ever include his Wizards years, the good and the bad, when talking about his career?
Well, obviously, all his glory was with Chicago, but Jordan at 40 was a problem. I'm going to tell you firsthand. I had a chance to play against him, watch the Wizards, Jordan. He was definitely an all-star. He could definitely still get buckets in, but you know, at the height of his career, he was a Bull, and that's all he wants to be remembered as. And, you know, this generation don't even remember he even played for the Wizards. You know, I remember because I played against him. I didn't play against Michael Jordan, Chicago Bull Jordan. So, you know, this generation don't even know he played for the Wizards, and he wants to leave that behind because, you know, it was just more of a like, you know, I still want to show the young guys what I could do at age 40.
Well, and every part of his career has been mythical, from college, hitting the championship shot, rookie of the year, scoring title, elevating himself to the biggest athlete on the planet, one of the biggest athletes this world has ever seen. So even the Washington Wizards, you go back, he's the first player over 40 to score 40 points, and he had 40 and scored 50 when he was 40 years old. And he averaged 20 points a game. He played 82 games, I believe, 1 year in that stretch. So I just look, everything he did was mythical. That was just an addition, but really where he captured everyone's hearts and mind and became the MJ is the Chicago years. So yes, there is another chapter in that book, and the chapter is pretty damn good, but it's nothing like the original.
Right.
I just think it should be included only because when you talk to him while he was playing for the Wizards, his reasons for coming back, I thought were pretty interesting and instructive for athletes. We all sort of watching, we want that last shot against Utah to be the shot, the ending, the walk-off home run, the perfect shot. And when you talk to Michael Jordan later, it turns out that his perfect ending was to be able to keep playing while he could, that he loved basketball so much, he missed it so much when he was away, he found nothing else that felt as competitive or alive to him. And the idea of getting to play it out until the very end, in the end, he figured out was more important to him than walking off with that walk-off against Utah. And I always think that's now interesting when we're talking about guys finishing their career. Vince Carter basically took this approach. He was like, oh, I'm going to play till the end. I'm going to play until I absolutely can't anymore. And I'm going to go play with teams where I can really get playing time as opposed to maybe being a decoration on the end of the bench for a championship, because my perfect ending is wanting to play. So I think we should talk about the Wizards. That's all I'm saying. Sometimes, occasionally. Big surprise. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.